China is the main factor of stability in the global economy. One has to look at what will be discussed in terms of a vision for the next 5 years. Therefore, Greater Bay Area has no comparison anywhere in the world. I'm sure that in 10, 20 years, this will be the most fascinating part of the world. This is the ending of the 14th five-year plan, and of course, the session will be very important as a part of the process to the next plan. There will also be a need to reflect about the long-term orientation of China, because China will remain the kind of centerpiece of global economy in the next 5 years. And we have to remind ourselves every time, 5% of growth of China means 1/3 of the global growth. And if we think about this, then we see the stabilizing effect of Chinese growth and the importance that China continues with its stable growth, because that benefits the world as a whole. So if I was asked by European governments what I would advise them to do, I'd say, look, focus on the question of boosting of consumption in China with particular attention. That, of course, is important for foreigners to watch, to see where the opportunities lie. There will be discussions about specific elements of growth, and the foreign observers should watch this very carefully. Quality is now a standard. The development of standards of quality in every respect, that I think is very important for the future development of China. Maybe quantities are not going to be so decisive as they have been in the past 3 or 4 decades, but certainly China has a system, both economic and political, which has generated huge growth in the past few decades. That has been a surprise, a very positive surprise, I must say, and therefore the foreign observers should look at China's development with great respect. Now, of course, as you know, the Western observers will always say that the only real democracy is the kind of liberal democracy that is practiced in the Western parts of the world. But politics is usually much more complicated than that. Democracy is about a variety of procedures which allow participation of people in decision making. I think that the whole idea of democracy, of whole process of people's democracy, points to the need to look at the whole society, that is, the whole population of a particular country. In the West, we tend to believe that democracy is basically about creation of political parties. Now, political parties, by definition, cannot represent the whole society. And we need a pluralistic system to figure out what the whole society needs. Now, is China developing a model of looking at the wholeness, the wholeness of society in ways which goes beyond the models that we know in the West? Well, I mean, I've been to China altogether about 40 to 50 times now. I have started to visit China, some 25, even more, 30 years ago. The country is changing so fast that it's a different country at every next visit. Now, of course, now it's a very well-developed area. I mean, the whole of China, and of course, the Greater Bay Area is probably the most developed part of China, in addition to Beijing and Shanghai, of course. Therefore, Greater Bay Area has no comparison anywhere in the world, because it's so large, it's so powerful, it has such a huge economy that everybody should respect that. This is not developing as a new area, it's developing as a synthesis of existing powerhouses of China. Just think about Hong Kong, think about Guangzhou, think about Shenzhen, think about also Macau in its own way. It's a synthesis of pre-existing high levels of development and specialization. And then I think the coherence and detailed manner of policy making, which is so typical for China, is not easy to achieve. I'm sure that in 10, 20 years, this will be the most fascinating part of the world. I'm not joking.